Welcome to The Explainer. You ever get home, look at something you just bought, and think, why in the world did I buy that? Well, today we're going to peel back the layers of your brain to get to the bottom of it, diving into the hidden truths about why we buy, all based on Martin Lindstrom's incredible book, Buyology. So let's just kick things off with a pretty wild statistic. Companies pour billions upon billions of dollars into market research every single year. And yet, despite all that cash, a shocking 8 out of every 10 new products fail. An 80% failure rate? Think about that. Which, brings up a pretty big question. If all of these companies are constantly asking us what we want with surveys and focus groups and all that, how are they getting it so completely wrong so often? Well, here's the fundamental problem. There is this massive gap between what we say we'll do and what we actually do. We tell ourselves and researchers that we make logical, rational choices. But the truth is, our subconscious brain is pretty much always running the show. And this is where this revolutionary field called neuromarketing comes in. You can basically think of it as a lie detector for shopping. It completely bypasses what we say we think and goes right to the source. It uses tools like fMRI scanners to see our brain's honest, unfiltered reactions by tracking where the blood flows.
All right, so using this new tool, let's bust some of the biggest myths in marketing. And first on the list is the idea that those really graphic, kind of scary health warnings you see on products, the idea that they actually work. We've all seen them, right? These really grotesque pictures of diseased lungs and just awful stuff on cigarette packs. They are absolutely designed to make you recoil and want to quit. But do they actually work?
So in the study, when they asked smokers directly if the warnings made them want to smoke less, consciously, they all said, yes, absolutely, they're very effective. But their brains? Oh, their brains were telling a completely different story.
This is where it gets crazy. The fMRI scans show that those warnings didn't stop cravings at all. In fact, they did the exact opposite. They lit up a part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens, which is basically the brain's craving center, the spot that's all about reward and addiction. So the conclusion is just mind-bending. The very thing that was designed to stop people from smoking was actually acting as a little advertisement, subconsciously triggering the urge to light up. The warnings had become a killer marketing tool. All right, next up, let's talk about product placement. Companies spend billions to get their sodas and cars into movies and TV shows. But is just having your product show up on screen, is that really enough? Well, a study done on the show American Idol gives us a super clear answer. The Coca-Cola cups, right? They were always there on the judge's desk, part of the show, part of the action. And the brain scans? High recall for the Coke brand. But Ford, who just ran regular old commercials in the ad breaks, their recall was incredibly low. People's brains just tuned them out. So the lesson here is pretty simple, but it's really profound. For product placement to actually stick, the brand can't just be wallpaper. It has to be part of the story, woven right into the narrative itself. So, if seeing isn't always believing, what else is going on? Well, Lindstrom's research shows that savvy marketers are going after our other senses, smell and sound, which can be way more powerful than sight alone. And once you know about this, you see it everywhere. That signature new car smell? Yeah, that's not the smell of leather and plastic. It's an engineered fragrance they spray from a can. That overpowering scent wafting out of an Abercrombie & Fitch, that's sensory branding, designed so you recognize it from a block away. Even the perfect, satisfying crunch of a potato chip was perfected by a whole team of researchers. But this can also go spectacularly wrong. Just look at Nokia. For years, everybody loved their phones. They were tanks. But that ringtone, that iconic, globally recognized ringtone, brain scans uncovered a pretty shocking truth. That sound had turned into what scientists call a negative somatic marker. Basically, it's a subconscious shortcut in the brain. And every single time that phone rang, it triggered this jolt of stress and annoyance. A call from the boss, a problem to solve, And those negative feelings started to completely overpower the love people had for the phone itself. Okay, now for the last, and honestly the most mind-blowing finding from the book. This is where we see just how incredibly deep our connection to brands can be. It can be, well, almost spiritual.
So I want you to think about this for a second. What could a super powerful brand like Apple or Harley-Davidson or Ferrari possibly have in common with the world's major religions? The answer is, well, just about everything. The results from this study were absolutely staggering when the researchers showed people images of powerful brands and then showed them images of powerful religious icons. The fMRI scans were practically identical. To our brains, there is no real difference between deep-seated brand loyalty and religious faith. And when you really stop and think about it, it kind of makes sense. Both of them offer a sense of belonging. They have clear missions, they use powerful symbols, they have evangelists who go out and try to convert others, they have foundational stories, rituals, and even a sense of mystery. Just think about it in the real world. The very specific, almost sacred ritual of pouring a pint of Guinness. The Apple logo, which is more like an icon. Or the way people would hang on every word of a Steve Jobs keynote, like it was a sermon. These companies aren't just selling stuff, they're selling belief. So what does this all boil down to? It's really this. Our choices as consumers are rarely logical. They aren't a pro-con list. They're driven by a whole lifetime of these unconscious emotional shortcuts, these somatic markers that our brains have built up over time. But look, this knowledge isn't just a playbook for advertisers. As Lindstrom himself says, the point is for us to understand our own biology. Because the more we know about the tricks and tactics being used, the better we can see them coming and the better we can defend ourselves. And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. As this science of neuromarketing gets more and more sophisticated, it gives advertisers an incredible toolkit to influence us. So the question becomes, now that they know the secrets to your brain's buy button, who's really in control when you pull out your wallet?